Good afternoon. It's good to be in Merkel, Texas, not necessarily for this event, of course. Todd and I were just talking back door that we kind of get frustrated watching these wildfires and going out and seeing the devastation. Both of us, he grew up in East Texas and I grew up just north of here, so seeing the ranch country in particular just being devastated, particularly in the middle of April, because we know what that means, that there's not going to be anything left there for our cattle from now till next year. I mean, April, May is about as bad a time you can have a fire as I can think of, but anyway, Commissioner Staples and I just finished separate tours of some of this. He was up on the very north end, I think, of that Swenson fire, the fire they're referring to up north of Ashburmont and Stonewall County, and we were kind of down on the south end of it, right there at Swenson and back up towards the western side of Haskell County. And I just want to say thanks to all of the firefighters out there. You know, we've got a young man who's in critical condition. I hope you all will keep him and his family in your prayers, and there's still a lot of fire to fight. So be careful, and know we greatly appreciate what you're doing. You're a unique bunch of folks who run to the danger when everybody else is fleeing it. And we're really blessed to have men and women like you working for us. And just know that Texans all across the state are keeping you in our prayers. As I said, and as Todd will share with you here just momentarily, for those of us who either have made our living in the farming and ranching business and those that are doing it now, they're facing a long way back from some very catastrophic fires out there. Anytime you combine these extreme drought conditions with the sort of wind events that we had over the course of the last 48 hours, then one of the reports were in that far west Texas fire out at Fort Davis that the fire was moving a steady 6 miles an hour. Now that's moving across the ground. And it is a deadly combination when you have those extreme conditions, you have those kind of wind events. And again, Thursday they're forecasting us again to be back into some very extreme conditions. We've had 334,000 acres in Texas burned off. 111 structures have been destroyed. There's been 81 family homes. You know, we're blessed that we haven't lost any life, but there's a lot of property that's been impacted. Since the beginning of the fire season last November, we've had almost 1 million acres burned. So I think 973,000 to be exact. There's been 1,278 structures lost. And these have been, these are pretty complicated fires. When you get that type of high wind and extreme low relative humidity, and again, my hat's off to these firefighters for you all have just in the last 7 days 435 homes have been saved. I mean, that is some heroic work, and since the start of the season back in November, 7,020 Texas families have had the pain of losing a home not visited upon them because of the work of our firefighters across the state. And anyway, I just again thank you with all my heart. As we witness this devastation, we also witness some of the best of human nature, and not just those that are out there fighting fire. We were talking about our TxDOT employees and Department of Public Safety, our game wardens, and law enforcement across the board. Obviously, the Forest Service as well, and just some and our partners on the federal side. I don't want to forget them, and the work that they do. So we're not through the season yet. So I want to continue to ask Texans to be very cautious, continue heeding all the warnings of fire and fire officials, your local officials. Take whatever precautions are necessary to minimize the risk of these wildfires. We're going to continue to be working in Austin. Chief Kidd is going to speak here in a few minutes, but we're greatly blessed to have an individual his capacity there overseeing the global side of our operations. But before he gets up to speak, I'm going to ask our Commissioner of Agriculture and again a person who understands what you go through on a pretty regular basis, having grown up out in East Texas where they have a little different kind of fires, but y'all got trees out there. So, but anyway, he's a good hand and a great public servant. Todd,
thank you, Governor. Appreciate that very much. Well, Governor Perry, thank you for your leadership to ensure that the full resources of the state of Texas were matched along with our local law enforcement and emergency response personnel and our volunteers who stepped up in a very real and meaningful way to protect the lives of Texans, protect their property. The devastation is real. The danger is extremely violent in many areas, and I want to echo your comments in thanking the team that came together to stand in the way of that devastation and the families and their property. Agriculture continues to be a major emphasis in Texas. We're the #1 cattle producing state in the nation. This devastation of these fires are crippling to many communities and to many families, and will in essence put many of them out of business because their operations have been totally consumed by the fires that have been taking place. Our resources and personnel, from visiting with them on the ground, they want to say thank you. They know that you're working around the clock to protect their lives, and the entire team that's doing that, and so they're very grateful. I just came from the north part of the Swenson fire, as the governor indicated. About 103,000 acres in that area was consumed, impacting about 150 miles of fencing. Give you an idea how devastating that is. Each mile cost about $12,000 to replace. You can do the math on that, and you can see how the complications are throughout the state. Good news is Texans care. Our offices have been ringing with people wanting to know how they can help their neighbors in need right now. And we have created the State of Texas Ag Relief Fund, the STAR Fund, and that's available at our website, texasagriculture.gov, where people can make monetary donations. I'm very proud of McCoy Building Supply, who stepped up and started that effort off with a $20,000 donation today from the private industry to augment what's taking place. Many of these operators don't have any feed, they don't have any pasture, so we have a hay hotline that I think you started a few years ago, Governor, when you were Commissioner of Agriculture. So that's alive and well today, and people that have pasture to lease, you can go to that hay hotline as well. So thank you all for responding in such a meaningful way and letting those Texans know whose lives have been changed forever that you're there with them. They're very grateful. We're very proud in Texas that we have a Division of Emergency Management that's led by Chief Nim Kidd, who brings a great deal of leadership to the table, and Chief Kidd will bring you up at this time.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your support. Good afternoon. I have to say I'm humbled to be standing in this facility as you look at the incident command post for firefighting for the state of Texas. I started out as a volunteer firefighter almost 20 years ago and spent the last 17 years fighting fire in the concrete jungles, which is nothing like the fire that the men and women out there on the line are fighting today. So my hat's off to you for all the work that you do. And the cooperation of support that comes from the law enforcement side, the disaster district committees, the Texas Highway Patrol, the Forest Service, TxDOT state agencies that are responding out there without ever asking why. They're just going because they know it's the right thing to do, and they're folding into the game plan. And what the Texas Forest Service has brought to this, to the incident management team concept from all over the state, is unheard of. The things that we are doing today will make history in the future, and we will continue to grow. We now have almost 15 Type 3 incident management teams across the state, not only for fighting fire, but for responding to hurricanes and every other disaster that we will face. and the leadership of the men standing behind me make my job so much easier whenever it comes to working through these things. And also not to mention is the volunteers. There are so many volunteer firefighters out there that are doing this for love of the game, for protecting their own property, and they do it without asking for a dime. You look at the Texas Baptist Men, the Salvation Army, the Red Cross, all of the agencies that come out to support us on a daily basis, and we can't thank them enough for all that they do. So I'm honored to be standing here with you today, and I appreciate all the support that you've given, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Gary, I'm going to let you wrap it up.
Thank you, Governor. My name is Gary Bennett. I'm the incident commander for our incident management team here in Merkel, Texas. We've been set up here in Merkel since February, and we have firefighting resources staged literally over the entire state. And what we're doing out here is we're helping the local fire departments in their efforts to suppress these fires. We've had fire currents start from very many different ways. We've had fires start from vehicles, from trains, from power lines coming down in these 50, 60 mile an hour winds, farming equipment such as grinders, hay balers, welding machines, cutting torches, and we have areas out here where we're having arson problems in as well. And we have investigators also staged throughout the state to help the locals determine origin and cause on these fires. We've had firefighters and equipment come in from 33 states to help us since we've been set up out here. There's several state agencies that's all pulled together and helping in this effort as well. I'd like to thank DPS for their help they've given us. TxDOT, they've been a tremendous help to us out here as well, and just a number of state agencies all combined together and helping fight this wildfire situation we're in. Our weather folks are telling us that the state of Texas hadn't been this dry since 1917, where the entire state has been in such drought conditions, and that's very significant. And we'd like to just say to the citizens of Texas that we're making every effort to suppress these fires and protect homes and structures, and we're asking all the citizens to please be careful and burning brush, trash piles. This is not the time to be doing that. We probably need to wait till the weather changes and we get some moisture in here where we can be able to get out and do that kind of stuff. And with that, I thank you very much.
Well done. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Gary, thank you very much. I think just about every group that is engaged in this we've tipped our hat to them. Texas Military Forces is one that, again, have done a great job as well. So if we skipped anybody, just know that collectively we apologize for that, for one thing, but it is truly a collective effort. I mean, it is a bunch of, from the private citizens out there all the way up to the governor's office and working together, doing our best to try to make an impact on these fires that have devastating effect. We'll keep our prayers going up that no loss of life occurs. But again, when you look at what's happening in the state from the standpoint of the historical record and the type of drought situation all across the state, we're going to be challenged this year. From far east Texas into that densely forested areas to some of the most rugged country that we've got in Texas, into those mountain ranges back out into Fort Davis and through that part of the state. So we're going to have some great challenges. And again, I know that some of you are going to be working on fumes from time to time, but God bless you. Thank you for it. And through your work, we're greatly honored to be able to work with you.